Have you ever looked at your husband after years together and thought, what happened to us? It's not just aging, it's the small, silent shifts that build up over time. Many women feel this way, but no one talks about it. The good news, these feelings aren't the end of the road. They're a sign that something needs attention. Meet Linda, 67 years old. She and her husband, Mark, have shared over 40 years together, raising kids, building a life, and weathering ups and downs. But lately, Linda feels something she never expected: resentment. She used to look forward to their time together, but now, small things, his lack of enthusiasm, the way he tunes her out, or how he takes her efforts for granted, chip away at her patience. She wonders, is this just how marriage feels after decades? Or is something truly wrong? Linda isn't alone. Many women, after years of devotion, reach a point where frustration replaces affection. It's not because they've fallen out of love, it's because certain behaviors, left unchecked, erode the bond they once cherished. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be this way. The key isn't to accept resentment as inevitable. It's to recognize the silent shifts causing the disconnect and take action before it's too late. Today, we'll uncover 7 surprising reasons why women start resenting their husbands as they age, and, more importantly, what can be done to fix it. Some of these may be things you felt but never put into words. And reason number 5, that's the one that catches most couples off guard. Before we dive in, if you find these insights helpful, take a moment to like this video. It really helps more people see this message. And if you want more practical advice on relationships, aging, and happiness, make sure to subscribe. Now, let's get started. Linda remembers when she and Mark could talk for hours about their dreams, the kids, or even silly little things. But lately, conversations feel one-sided. She shares a story about her day, but Mark barely looks up from his phone. She asks for his opinion on something important, and all she gets is a distracted It's as if he's hearing her words, but not really listening. And the worst part, when she brings it up, he shrugs it off, saying, I do listen. I just already know what you're going to say. But Linda doesn't want Mark to predict her words. She wants him to truly hear them. This is more common than most couples realize. Over time, familiarity leads to complacency. Many men unconsciously assume they already understand their wives' thoughts and feelings, so they stop engaging in deep conversations. Instead of truly listening, they nod absent-mindedly or give automatic responses. And for women, this isn't just frustrating, it's heartbreaking. It creates an emotional gap where they feel unimportant, invisible, or even unheard in their own home. Imagine spending years taking care of someone, supporting them, loving them, only to feel like your words don't matter anymore. That's how Linda feels. She starts pulling back, sharing less, because what's the point? And slowly, without realizing it, the connection they once had begins to erode. What used to be a partnership now feels more like coexisting. And if left unaddressed, this small habit of not listening can turn into full-blown resentment. But here's the good news. This can be turned around, and it starts with something simple: active listening. When couples make a conscious effort to engage in their conversations, the dynamic changes almost instantly. So what does this look like? First, put away distractions. Next time your spouse talks to you, try this. Put the phone down, mute the TV, and give them your full attention. It might feel like a small gesture, but it speaks volumes. Second, maintain eye contact and show interest. Instead of just nodding along, show you're engaged. A simple "that's interesting, tell me more" can make a world of difference. Third, repeat and reflect. One of the most powerful tricks to make someone feel truly heard. Repeat a part of what they just said and respond to it. If Linda tells Mark, I had a really frustrating day at the store, the cashier was so rude, instead of Mark saying, oh, he could respond, that sounds frustrating. What did they say? This keeps the conversation flowing and shows genuine interest. Fourth, ask thoughtful questions. Engaging questions make a conversation feel meaningful, instead of a simple, how was your day? Ask, what was the best part of your day? Or, what's something that made you smile today? These small shifts can completely change the way partners communicate. When a husband truly listens, his wife feels valued. When he engages with curiosity, she feels cherished. And when he makes an effort to understand, instead of assuming, she feels loved. And that's the difference between a relationship that drifts apart and one that deepens over time. Have you ever felt unheard in a conversation? Drop a yes in the comments if this sounds familiar. But here's the thing. Listening is just the first step. Because if reason number 1 is about emotional connection, reason number 2 is about something just as important, keeping the romance alive. And this is where most long-term couples go wrong. Let's talk about it next. Linda remembers when Mark used to surprise her with little things. A spontaneous date night, a handwritten note left on the kitchen counter, or even just a warm hug out of nowhere. Those moments made her feel special, desired, and deeply connected. But now, their relationship has settled into a predictable routine. They wake up, have breakfast, go about their day, watch TV in the evening, and go to bed. It's comfortable, but it's also uninspired. The spark they once had seems to have faded. And it's not because the love is gone, it's because they stopped nurturing it. This is a common reality for long-term couples. As the years go by, routines replace spontaneity. The same dinner conversations, the same daily habits, the same "I love you" at the end of the night, but without feeling. What was once exciting now feels predictable, and over time, predictability can turn into emotional distance. The truth is, romance doesn't just disappear. It fades when it's no longer prioritized. For Linda, it's not that she expects grand romantic gestures. She just misses feeling like Mark truly sees her. She misses the little things, like the way he used to hold her hand without thinking, or how he once made an effort to impress her. Now their interactions feel more like habits than expressions of love. And deep down, she wonders, is this just what happens after decades together? The good news, romance isn't about expensive gifts or elaborate dates, it's about thoughtfulness. And sometimes the smallest gestures have the biggest impact. First, break the routine with simple surprises. Romance thrives on novelty. Something as simple as planning a spontaneous outing, like taking a scenic drive, visiting an old favorite restaurant, or even having a picnic in the backyard, can shift the energy in a relationship. Second, bring back physical affection. Holding hands, a quick kiss on the forehead, or a lingering hug. These small acts of touch rekindle emotional warmth. It's not about grand passion. It's about staying connected. Third, express love in new ways. Instead of the usual "I love you" before bed, leave a handwritten note somewhere unexpected. Instead of a routine peck on the cheek, whisper a compliment that makes them feel special. These little changes bring back the feeling of being cherished. Fourth, make an effort, even in small moments. Taking a moment to genuinely look into your partner's eyes when talking, complimenting their appearance, or doing something thoughtful just because reminds them that they still matter deeply. When Mark starts making these small shifts, Linda notices. She smiles more, she feels more engaged in their conversations, and instead of feeling like roommates, they start feeling like a couple again. The truth is, love doesn't fade, it just needs to be rekindled. And sometimes, all it takes is a little effort to turn routine back into romance. When was the last time you did something small but meaningful for your partner? Share one simple romantic gesture in the comments. But while romance is essential, there's something even deeper that affects the way women feel about their husbands as they age. And that's when a man stops being emotionally present. Let's talk about it next. Linda never minded taking care of things around the house, at least not at first. But after 40 years of marriage, she's starting to feel differently. Every morning she picks up Mark's coffee cup from the table. She folds the laundry while he watches TV. She loads the dishwasher, makes the grocery list, and takes care of the little things that keep their home running. Meanwhile, Mark assumes it all just gets done. And the longer it goes on, the more resentment builds. It's not that she doesn't love Mark, it's that she's starting to feel more like his caretaker than his wife. This is something many women experience as they get older. They've spent years managing not just household chores, but also the mental load, remembering birthdays, organizing appointments, planning meals, and keeping everything in order. And while their husbands might help here and there, the invisible burden often still falls on them. Over time, this creates frustration, exhaustion, and even emotional distance. Linda doesn't need Mark to do everything. She just wants him to notice. She wants him to see how much effort she puts in and step up without being asked. Because nothing is more frustrating than feeling like your partner sees your work as just what you do, instead of a real contribution that deserves appreciation. The solution isn't about splitting everything 50-50. It's about mutual effort, respect, and appreciation. Here's how couples can find balance. First, start with an open conversation. Many men don't even realize there's an issue until it's pointed out. Instead of letting resentment build, having an honest but kind conversation can help. A simple, "I feel like I'm handling most of the household work and it's exhausting. Can we figure out a better balance?" opens the door to change. Second, make household tasks a team effort. Instead of one person handling everything, make certain chores something you do together, whether it's meal prep, folding laundry, or tidying up before bed. Even small contributions create a sense of partnership. Third, show appreciation for each other's work. Sometimes the issue isn't just about the work itself, but about feeling unseen. A simple "thanks for doing that, I really appreciate it," goes a long way in making both partners feel valued. Fourth, set clear expectations. Rather than assuming responsibilities, openly decide who handles what. When each person knows what they're responsible for, there's less frustration and fewer unspoken resentments. When Mark starts helping out without being asked, Linda notices. And suddenly, the resentment starts to fade, because at the end of the day, it's not about chores. It's about feeling like you're in this together. When couples work as a team, their bond strengthens, and the relationship feels more balanced and fulfilling. Do you feel household chores are equally shared in your home? Comment fair or unfair below. Linda remembers when she and Mark could talk for hours about their dreams, their hopes, and the little things that made life interesting. But lately, their conversations feel different. They talk about what's for dinner, what errands need to be run, and whether the bills have been paid. It's all logistics, practical, necessary, but empty. The warmth, the curiosity, the emotional connection, it's fading. And Linda is starting to feel like she and Mark are just coexisting rather than truly being present in each other's lives. This shift doesn't happen overnight, it's a slow drift. At the beginning of a relationship, conversations are filled with excitement. You ask each other deep questions, you laugh at silly thoughts, and you truly listen. But as the years go by, responsibilities take over. Kids, careers, home life. There's always something that needs attention. And somewhere along the way, meaningful conversations get replaced by daily routines. Over time, couples stop talking about what matters, and that's when the emotional distance sets in. Linda doesn't expect Mark to pour his heart out every night, but she misses feeling emotionally connected. She misses the late-night talks, the deep questions, the moments where they shared their dreams. Now, everything feels surface level, and she wonders, does he even notice? The good news? Emotional connection isn't lost. It just needs to be reignited. And it starts with making intentional time to talk, not just about daily life, but about the things that truly matter. It doesn't have to be hours, just 10 minutes a day where you put distractions aside and really talk. No TV, no phones, just eye contact, listening, and presence. It could be over morning coffee, a short walk, or before bed, instead of "How was your day?" Ask, "What's something that made you smile today?" Or, "What's on your mind lately?" Thoughtful questions open the door to deeper conversations. In the early days, couples are curious about each other. They ask about dreams, fears, and interests. That curiosity shouldn't fade with time. There's always more to learn about your partner, even after decades together. Many men are natural fixers. They listen to solve problems. But sometimes, their wives just want to be heard. Instead of offering solutions, simply acknowledging feelings, saying, "That sounds really frustrating," or "I can see why that upset you," creates emotional closeness. When Mark starts making an effort to have real conversations again, Linda feels it immediately. She doesn't just feel heard, she feels valued. And suddenly, their connection deepens in a way she didn't think was possible anymore. Because at the end of the day, emotional intimacy is what keeps a relationship strong, not just love, but feeling truly understood. When was the last time you and your partner had a deep, meaningful conversation? Share a topic that brought you closer in the comments. Linda always imagined retirement as a time to explore, traveling, learning new things, and making the most of every moment. But Mark, he sees it differently. He's settled into a routine of watching TV, taking naps, and sticking to what's familiar. And the more Linda tries to get him to join her in new experiences, the more he resists. It's like they're aging at two different speeds, and Linda is starting to feel alone. Aging affects everyone differently. Some people embrace it with excitement, seeing it as a time of freedom and new opportunities. Others withdraw, feeling that their best days are behind them. When one partner wants to live fully and the other becomes passive, it creates an emotional gap. It's not just about activities, it's about mindset. And over time, that difference can make a relationship feel stagnant. Linda doesn't expect Mark to be a world traveler or pick up extreme sports, but she does wish he'd show some interest in life. She wants to try new restaurants, take day trips, or even just go for an evening walk together. Instead, he declines, saying he's too tired or not interested. The result? Linda starts doing things on her own, and that's when the real disconnection sets in. The key isn't forcing someone to change, it's finding small ways to reintroduce excitement into life together. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be intentional. Start small with low-effort adventures. If one partner is resistant to change, start with small, low-effort activities, like trying a new coffee shop, watching a documentary on a new topic, or taking a short scenic drive. Even minor changes can reignite curiosity. Find a hobby you can do together. Linda loves gardening, but Mark never showed interest. Instead of pushing him into her world, she looks for something they both might enjoy. Maybe a simple puzzle night, a short hike, or even learning a new skill together, like cooking a different type of cuisine. Make it a challenge, not a chore. Many people disengage from life because they feel aging limits them. Reframing it as a challenge, let's try one new thing every month, can make it exciting instead of overwhelming. Encourage, don't nag. No one wants to feel like they're being forced into something. Instead of saying, you never do anything, try. I'd love for us to share this experience together. Framing it positively makes a difference. One evening, Linda invites Mark to a new local diner instead of their usual spot. He hesitates but agrees. To his surprise, he enjoys the change. The next week, she suggests a short walk at the park. Slowly, Mark starts engaging again, not because he was forced, but because he realizes life still has more to offer. And with that shift, their connection grows stronger. What's one new thing you and your partner have tried recently? Share it in the comments. For Linda, it's not about grand gestures or passionate embraces. It's the little things she misses. The gentle touch on her shoulder when he walks by, the way he used to hold her hand while watching TV, or a simple hug when she walks in the door. Over the years, these small physical connections have slowly faded. Mark doesn't seem to notice, but Linda feels the distance growing between them, and it hurts. As marriages age, physical intimacy often takes a back seat. For many couples, the physical closeness that was once abundant, holding hands, hugging, sharing space, starts to dwindle. It's not necessarily intentional, but life happens. Responsibilities, health changes, and the simple routine of day-to-day living can chip away at that physical connection. Yet these small moments of touch are vital. They don't just build closeness. They remind each partner that they are loved, valued, and desired. Linda doesn't want to feel like she's just sharing space with Mark. She wants to feel his presence, not just in the room, but in the way he touches her. Without those moments of affection, she begins to feel like roommates. It's not about sex, it's about emotional connection. When that touch disappears, it's as if the bond between them weakens. Physical intimacy doesn't always have to be about sex. It's the little non-verbal gestures that can reignite emotional closeness. It's about being mindful of the moments where you can reconnect physically, even in small ways. And that doesn't mean rushing straight to a hug or kiss every time. It's about creating a consistent presence that communicates love and warmth. Start with simple touches. Holding hands doesn't need a special occasion. When you're sitting on the couch, reach over and hold your partner's hand. Walking down the street, link arms. These small gestures help restore the feeling of closeness and warmth without pressure. Reintroduce affection throughout the day. Linda could encourage Mark to start small, like a gentle touch on the shoulder or a quick hug when passing by. These gestures don't require words, but they communicate care, affection, and attention. Make physical connection a priority. Set aside time to be physically close, even if it's just sitting together without distractions. A 10-minute cuddle on the couch, sitting together at the table, or even taking a walk while holding hands can foster intimacy. Be mindful of what physical touch means to your partner. Everyone has a different comfort level with physical touch, and that's okay. Be mindful of your partner's needs and preferences. Start slow and gauge how your partner responds to physical affection. What feels right for both of you will depend on your relationship dynamics and comfort levels. At first, Linda feels hesitant, but as she initiates these small acts of affection, holding Mark's hand during a movie or brushing his arm as they walk, she begins to notice a change. Mark seems to soften, his posture less stiff. They don't need to talk about it, but there's an unspoken shift. The physical distance shrinks, and with it, the emotional distance begins to fade too. Slowly but surely, Linda and Mark find their way back to the physical closeness that once brought them comfort, companionship, and love. What's your favorite way to show affection without words? Let us know in the comments. But as we continue exploring what makes marriages work, we can't overlook one of the most common challenges: when partners stop making each other feel truly appreciated. Let's dive into that next. Over the years, Linda has taken care of countless details: the shopping, the cooking, the planning. But it's been a while since Mark stopped to say thank you. When Linda makes a nice dinner, he eats it without a word. When she handles all the errands, there's no acknowledgement. It's not that Mark is intentionally unkind, but Linda can't shake the feeling that her efforts are taken for granted. She feels invisible in the very marriage she's worked so hard to build. In long-term marriages, it's easy to fall into a pattern where the everyday tasks seem automatic. Over time, appreciation for those small efforts fades into the background. When one partner feels unappreciated, it creates an emotional gap. It's not about grand gestures, it's about those everyday moments where you feel seen, heard, and valued. Linda often wonders, does Mark even notice how much she does for him? She's tired of feeling like she's just going through the motions, with no recognition for the emotional and physical labor she puts into their relationship. It's not about the big things, but the little thank yous that seem to have disappeared. And that's when resentment starts to creep in. The solution isn't hard: expressing appreciation every day. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, but it only takes a moment to recognize your partner's efforts. Daily appreciation can completely shift the dynamic in your relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a small gesture or a big one. Saying thank you for the little things can make a huge difference. Acknowledge the small things. Linda can encourage Mark to simply start noticing the little things. It's easy to forget how much the other person is doing, but even something as simple as thanking her for a meal or noticing that she tidied up the house can go a long way in rebuilding appreciation. Express gratitude regularly. Make it a habit to thank each other every day, even for the mundane tasks. Thanks for making breakfast. I appreciate you taking care of that errand. These small expressions of gratitude can remind both partners that they are valued. Don't wait for special occasions. Appreciation shouldn't only be reserved for holidays or anniversaries. The more you make it a daily practice, the more natural it becomes. Saying thank you doesn't need to be formal. It can be casual, heartfelt, and consistent. Make appreciation a two-way street. Encourage both partners to express their appreciation regularly. It's not just about one person recognizing the other's efforts. When both spouses show gratitude, it creates a positive feedback loop that strengthens the relationship. As Linda and Mark start incorporating daily gratitude into their lives, things begin to change. Mark begins to notice the small things, and he makes an effort to thank Linda more often. She feels seen again. It's not just about the words, it's about the acknowledgement of each other's contributions. With each thank you, Linda feels more appreciated, and that invisible distance begins to close. When was the last time you felt truly appreciated? Tell us in the comments. At first, Linda was skeptical. Could small changes really make a difference in a relationship that had been stuck in a routine for so long? But as she started incorporating more appreciation into her daily interactions with Mark, Whether it was holding his hand during dinner, thanking him for his help with chores, or simply making time for a daily check-in, something shifted. Mark noticed it too. It wasn't just about the thank yous or the extra touches, though they mattered. It was the fact that they were both actively working to reconnect. Mark began to put more effort into being present, really listening when Linda spoke, and acknowledging her efforts. He even planned a surprise weekend getaway, a gesture he hadn't made in years. One evening, as they sat on the porch together, Mark turned to Linda and said, "I'm really glad we're doing this. I feel closer to you than I have in a long time." For Linda, that simple statement felt like a victory. All the little changes, holding hands, saying thank you, making time for deep conversations, had led to this moment. They were no longer just coexisting, they were actively reconnecting, one small gesture at a time. What Linda learned is that transforming a relationship doesn't require grand gestures. Small shifts in daily interactions, whether it's more physical affection, daily appreciation, or simply taking the time to listen, can reignite the spark in long-term marriages. It's not about changing who you are or doing something dramatic. It's about showing up for each other in meaningful ways, every single day. As we wrap up this video, remember, appreciation, affection, and connection are the heartbeats of a relationship. If you found these insights helpful, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips on strengthening your relationship after 60.